All right, here we are. I'm going to record this session because I'm super excited. I've started my EA teacher training, virtual teacher training that I'm facilitating a big portion of, but I'm also there as a student. And yesterday, Adrian, who is our anatomy whiz, was teaching us about twists in yoga. And how often do we do twists in yoga? A lot. You know, we can do standing twists, we can do things like twisted chair. Most often, I prefer twists on the ground. And she was giving us a different way to get in the twists that has really been mind opening to me. That no, she used the word and the phrase, you borrow from your spine because your lumbar spine is not going to twist in this way. So if you just kind of flop your legs over, you're borrowing from another part of your spine. And I really appreciated that languaging. If we are trying to get our twists centralized, in a certain part of our body, to stabilize what's already pretty flexible and to invite in a little bit more flexibility in the muscles around where the spine doesn't move, I think this is a really therapeutic approach. So we're going to start there today. We'll start on our backs. And as you start on your back, you might have a bolster or a blanket or a pillow handy. And we'll just bend the knees and allow the feet to be flat to the earth for a moment. And take a pause here and notice the breath. So I like to have my feet a tiny bit wider, my knees come toward one another, and that's a pretty neutral spine for the low back. A neutral place for the spine and the low back. We'll just notice our breath here. We'll notice the rise and fall of our belly, the rise and fall of our chest, just with natural breath without changing anything. And as we're here, we might notice that our head is on the ground, our neck curves away from the floor. Our upper back between our shoulder blades, the thoracic spine is probably touching the floor. It curves toward the floor. Our low back naturally curves away from the floor. And then our sacrum, or our lowest part of our spine, curves toward the floor. So in yoga, we want to support these natural curves of the spine. And what Adrian yesterday was talking about in twists, it made so much sense to me. The low back, we want its natural curve here. We don't want to round the low back and twist. And so if we are truly keeping that natural curve in our low back, we don't twist very far. We don't twist very big. And we don't want to look for these big movements. It reminds me of some wisdom that a yoga teacher friend, Amber, said to me many years ago. She said, as yogis, we can be sensation seekers. And so we seek that big sensation, whether it's a stretch of our hamstrings or what we think is the quote full expression of the pose. How often have I used that languaging? Full expression of the pose. When actually we're borrowing from different parts of our anatomy in order to make that movement. So in essence, the pose could be much deeper and more useful, but a much smaller movement. So let's turn onto our left side. And as we turn onto our left side, we'll bring the knees together, stacked right on top of each other. Yeah. And then we'll literally take ourselves more to the left. So I'm scooting my ribs out a little bit more to the left. And then as you do that, place your hand on your sacrum and your low back. And see if you can still feel that natural curve of the low back. And so that's what we want to keep. The other thing that we tend to do in twists is bring our knees up higher than they should be. So let's make sure our knees, they're at 90 degrees or even less. So we're not using the flexion of our hips in order to make the movement. So here, if I take my right hand out to the right, my shoulder is not on the floor at all. So you might use your pillow, your bolster, your block to just come under that right shoulder or arm. Oh, yeah. And then we'll start to breathe into the right side body. So really taking the time to feel the right ribs expand. Noticing where along this right side you might be tight. Where the breath seems to naturally move and expand, where it might feel stuck, or your ribs or muscles feel kind of sticky. And we'll begin to deepen our breath here. And then every exhale can be an opportunity to draw the belly in and up. So when the belly draws in and up, it supports the low back in staying nice and long and with its natural curve. About 5 more breaths just here. And then we'll take our right hand under our ribs and literally move them more to the left. And then just notice if that allows your right shoulder to come a little bit more toward the floor. Maybe you still have that pillow. Maybe it's more toward your forearm now. Just notice. You might touch your low back again, making sure it still has that natural curve. About 5 more breaths here. So what I love to notice about my body is this is not real comfortable for me at the beginning of class. And then I like to do it at the end of practice just to see what has changed. My body changes a lot when it gets warm. And so that's useful information for me. Maybe yours is less extreme, and that's useful information for you. And then let's come back to center on our backs with our knees bent and our feet flat. And just for a moment, notice how you feel. What feels different? What feels similar? So I almost feel like I'm rolling to the right a little bit. I feel like the right side of my body is more on the floor than the left, which is curious. Just notice what you feel. And then we'll come onto our right side. So remember, at first, we're looking at our knees. We want to stack our knees up, move our ribs and our shoulder a little bit more to the right. And then as I put my left arm out, like there's no way my shoulder is going anywhere near the floor. So perhaps a bolster or a pillow underneath that shoulder. And we'll keep drawing the belly in and up. And we're keeping the knees lined up the best we can. And you might feel this natural curve at your low back. So we want to keep that natural curve there. And breathe into the left side body, the left lung, the left ribs, feeling the ribs expand on the inhale. You might notice how different you might feel from side to side. And then we'll take our left hand and really reach under our body and draw the right ribs even more to the right. And then just notice what might happen there with the ability of the left shoulder to move toward the earth. And try to keep the knees stacked. So notice if the left knee draws back a bit. And then also check out and make sure you still have that natural curve there in the lumbar spine. 5 more breaths here. And then we'll slowly come back onto our backs. And just notice how you feel. What does your left side feel like? Does it feel closer to the floor now? Getting a little bit quiet here just for a few moments and just observing any sound in the room, any sound outside the room, distal sound or distant sound. And then bringing it more toward you, maybe even to those subtle sounds that just you make, your sound of your breath, or even your heart beating. And then, my dears, we'll come over onto hands and knees, And take a few moments, inhale into our cow shape. And exhale into cat. Stay for an inhale in cat. And come back to cow. Inhale here. Exhale, cat. Inhale here. Exhale, cow. And then come to a neutral spine. So when I come to cow, my back doesn't sway a whole ton anyway, but really it just feels like I'm drawing my belly in. And that brings it to a more neutral spine where it's tabletop position, where the low back is supported but still full of its natural curve. And then today we're going to turn our palms just slightly out. So instead of the middle finger pointing straight up like 12 o'clock, the pointer finger points up and the middle finger is just slightly out to either side. So like 1 o'clock. Yeah. Tuck the toes under downward facing dog, and we'll pedal here and sway and feel into our calves and our hamstrings a bit. And then bring the shoulders down away from the ears, maybe even nod the head a little bit. we'll bend our knees a lot and lift our sitting bones up to the sky. Bring the shoulders again away from the ears, feel the neck spine long. And then one heel at a time, perhaps lowering toward the floor. They might never get to the floor, and that's not the goal. We'll stay here a few breaths. And then look forward. We'll walk our hands to our and feet together at the top of the mat. We'll inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Mountain pose. Inhale, reach the arms up. We'll lean to our left. So we're reaching across our body with that right hand. Left hand reaches straight down to the earth, ground down through the outer edge of that right foot. Inhale, center. Lean right. And ground down to the outer edge of the left foot. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Step the right toes way back. Bend the left knee. Lift the heart. Bring the shoulders down away from the ears. Breathe in. And then straighten that left leg. Forehead toward your shin. Inhale here. And then bend that left knee. So we'll notice we're kind of cow-shaped in the spine here as the knee bends. Inhale. Then as we straighten the leg and bow toward it, cat shape to the back. Inhale here. And back to the cow lunge. One more time, breathe in. Exhale, straighten the leg. Breathe into a cat-like back. Bend the knee. And then let's place that right knee down. And we'll place our left hand on our left thigh and kind of bring the left hip down just a tiny bit. Tuck your tail under a bit. And then we'll lean to the left. So the right arm is going to reach across the body. So at first, we're stacking our shoulders and our hips, and you should feel the stretch on the side body, maybe even the low back a tiny bit on the right side. You can grab your own head too and kind of lean back. That seems to be useful. Couple more big breaths here. And then we're going to keep this position, but start to send the hips a wee bit forward. So we're still stretching the right side body, of course, but now we're bringing it into the front of the right hip a little. And then we'll slowly come back to center, and we'll straighten that front leg. So we might walk it forward a bit, flex the toes up toward the sky, heart reaches forward. So again, a cow shape to the back. Great. And then we'll draw the heel back and we'll come to downward facing dog. Bend the knee significantly, let the sitting bones lift, shoulders away from the ears. And then heels begin to lower toward the earth. And then we'll walk our feet and hands together at the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Rise all the way up. Mountain pose. Arms up. Lean to the right. Arms up. Lean to the left. Arms up. Fold forward over the legs. Halfway lift, long spine. Step your left toes way back. Bend that right knee over the ankle. Lift the heart, kind of a cow shape to the back. Breathe in. Straighten the leg, kind of a cat shape as you bow toward your shin. Stay for an inhale. Bend the right knee. Lift the heart. Inhale. Straighten the leg. Inhale. Bend the knee. One more. Breathe in. Straighten the leg. Breathe in. Bend the knee. And then place that left knee down. Come up onto your right leg. Place your forearm perhaps on that right thigh. And begin to lean to the right. Your left hand might grab your own head on the right side. And the hips are back here, shoulders are back. Should mostly feel the right side body stretching, maybe a little bit into the low back. Left side body, excuse me, I think I said right. And then starting to send the hips a tiny bit forward, might feel into the front of the left hip. And then we'll come back to center and we'll straighten that front leg. You might walk it forward, flex the toes up to the sky. Imagine the heart going forward. So we take a cow shape to the back, sitting bones go back and up. And then we'll draw that knee back, downward facing dog. So we'll just notice how that all felt at the beginning here. We'll start the flow and then we'll do the whole sequence again and see what may have changed. So we'll look forward, walk or hop to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, lean left. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, lean right. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plank. Inhale here. Lower halfway or all the way. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, down dog. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Walk or hop forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Forward fold, exhale. Rise up, inhale. Mountain pose. Arms reach up, inhale. Lean right. Arms up, inhale. Lean left. Arms up, inhale. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Plank. Inhale here. Lower halfway or all the way. Cobra or up dog, inhale. Downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Walk or hop forward. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Rise up. Lean right. Inhale, lift. Lean left. Inhale, lift. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Plank pose. Inhale here. Chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Downward facing. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Walk or hop. Halfway lift. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Mountain pose. Arms reach up. Lean left. Arms reach up. Lean right. Arms reach up. Fold forward. Long spine. Step your right toes back. Come all the way up. Crescent lunge. Inhale, bend the back knee. Exhale, scissor the legs back into front. Lift the heart, breathe in. Warrior two, breathe out. Straighten the front leg. Triangle pose. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Warrior two. Star pose. Goddess, bend your knees. Inhale here. Long breath out. Star pose. Warrior two toward the back. Straighten the right leg. Triangle pose. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Warrior two. Pivot your back toes. Crescent lunge. Tuck your tail slightly. Bend the back knee slightly. Breathe in. Chaturanga, breathe out. Cobra or up dog. Down dog. Left leg high. Now square your hips. Imagine leading with your inner thigh. Breathe in here. Step that left foot forward. Crescent lunge, rise. Warrior two. Straighten the leg. Triangle pose. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Warrior two. Star pose. Inhale here. Goddess. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Star pose. Warrior two toward the front. Straighten the right leg. Triangle pose. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Warrior two. Pivot your back toes. Crescent lunge. Inhale here. Chaturanga on your exhale. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Walk or hop to your hands. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Rise up. Lean right. Inhale, lift. Lean left. Inhale, lift. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Down dog. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Right leg lifts. Now try to lead with your inner thigh. Inhale here. Step the foot forward. Crescent lunge. Inhale here. Warrior two. Straighten the right leg. Triangle pose. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Warrior two. Star pose. Inhale here. Goddess pose. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Inhale, stop. Warrior two toward the back. Straighten that left leg. Triangle pose. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Warrior two. Pivot the toes. Crescent lunge. Inhale here. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Right leg lifts. Foot steps forward. Crescent lunge. Deep breath in. Warrior two. Triangle pose. 5 breaths here. Feel your feet. Warrior two. 5 breaths. Star pose. Got it. Bend your knees. Star pose. Warrior two toward the front. 5 breaths. Straighten the left leg. Triangle pose. two. Pivot the back toes. Crescent lunge. Deep breath in. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Walk or hop to your hands. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Rise on up. Grab your left wrist. Lean right, 5 breaths. There can be a slight bend to the knees here. Back to center. Grab the right wrist, lean left. Slightly bend your knees. Back to center. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Step those right toes back. Bring the knee to the ground. Low lunge. Left hand rests on the thigh. Right hand grabs the left side of the head. Tuck your tail and really begin to lean to the left. Use that forearm against your thigh for balance. Come back to center. Both hands on that front thigh. Begin to send the hips forward. And breathe. Now, you might have blocks underneath your hand here. You might bend that back knee and reach back with one or both hands for the foot. A little trickier than I had bargained for, this one. And draw that heel in. So I'm using my right hand to grab the foot. My left hand is on a block for stability. Breathe. Send the hips forward. And release as gently as you can. Send your left foot forward. Straighten that left leg. Great, now keep the heel forward, but bend that knee and send the hips forward. So now your knee is probably not even over your ankle, it's a little back from it. Great, and then we'll draw that leg back in, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts, foot steps forward, left knee down, low lunge. Right hand on the right thigh. Left hand might grab the right side of the head and we'll lean that direction. We'll come back and start to lean forward a little bit, or you might stay, or you might bend that left knee, reach back maybe with the left hand for the foot. And then draw the heel in toward the booty. Your right hand might be on a block. And then we'll release that. We'll inch our right foot forward, flex the right foot, and imagine that cow shape to your back. Now keep that heel right where it is. Bend the knee, send the hips forward. Your knee is probably not even to your ankle. And then draw that heel back, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts, foot steps forward, back knee down. And this time as we come up, tail tucks under, our right palm is going to touch the outer left knee. Push the knee against the hand and bring your left palm to make sure you still have that natural curve of your low back. So how do you need to move your pelvis? You might sway your hips a little here to have that natural curve in your low back. And then when you have that natural curve, notice where your sternum is. So mine is really just pointing to the outside of the left knee. It's not way over to the left. Yeah, so that's about where the twist should end for me. If I start to twist more, can I keep that natural curve in my low back? So that's the question. And then maybe the hand reaches behind you. Now, what happens if we stay in this position or we start to send the hips forward? Can we maintain that natural curve in the low back? Great, and then come back to center, downward facing dog. Walk or hop forward, halfway lift, forward fold, rise up, lean left, inhale lift, lean right, inhale lift, fold forward, halfway lift, left toes, step back, left knee goes to the floor. As you come up low lunge, left palm on the outside of the right knee. Right hand, the palm to the low back. Feel the natural curve and then start to shake your hips, kind of sway your hips. What feels good? What feels correct? Where you still have that curve of your low back. And then check out the sternum. The sternum is not all the way out to the side. It's probably just outside that right knee. Push the knee against the hand, reach behind you. And then what happens is we start to send the hips forward. Can we maintain that curve in the low back? Great. Back to center. Downward facing dog. What do you notice here? Has anything changed in this posture since the beginning of class? And then come down to your knees and come back over onto your backs. As you come to your back, right ankle, left knee, figure 4. And here, we're going to try to keep that natural curve of your low back. So remember, when we're on our back, the low back curves away from the floor. So keeping that curve, draw your legs towards you. They might not go very far, right? You might not be able to reach behind and grab the thigh. Maybe your hands just rest on this right knee and foot. Notice what happens if you draw your legs towards you. Does your low back go to the floor? And if it does, bring them away from you just a little. Keep the sacrum down and the low back with its natural curve. And then switching sides, you might notice there's a little less movement on this side or a little more. If you're keeping your low back with its natural curve, how far do the legs go towards you, or away? All right, my dears, release that side. We're going to start to kind of bring our left ribs already over to the left. So kind of reach your left arm out in a T shape to the left. And then come onto your left side and stack your knees. Yeah, stack your knees. Take your right hand and maybe reach under and pull those left ribs toward the left. Your knees are just at 90 degrees. You're not bringing your knees closer to your belly or your chest. Oh my goodness. And then the right arm reaches out to the right. And just notice what's happening there. Maybe there's a pillow underneath your shoulder or your arm. You might even straighten your legs out. They'd be going out to the left. And if you wanted to bring this into more awareness of your hips, you could stagger your feet. The bottom foot, which is your left foot, goes in front. And the top foot goes slightly behind. And then cross your ankles with the bottom crossing over the top. And you can flex your feet and get kind of a nice little seal there. Now my right shoulder is still not on the ground. So notice in your body what's true for you. And then bend both knees. Slowly come back to center and pause. Knees bent, feet flat on the floor, and notice what's happening. What's that right side feel like? Do you notice anything that's familiar from the beginning of class or anything that might be a little different or significantly different? Just notice. Before we go to the right, we're already going to start to bring our right arm out to the right and our right shoulder over to the right. Then come onto the right side and stack your knees. Take your left hand under and bring those right ribs out. And then left arm out to the left. And then perhaps you straighten your legs out at that 90-degree angle. And the top foot comes behind, bottom foot in front. We stagger our feet and then cross the bottom over the top, flex both of the feet. And what do you feel? Just notice. How can drawing the belly in and up support the length of your low back? And then we'll very slowly come back to center and just unwind our legs, bring our feet to the floor. And just notice. And then, if you have it, place a pillow or a bolster underneath your knees. In Shavasana, corpse pose with this extra support for the low back with the knees elevated. And if you don't have a pillow, you could even put your legs on a chair. Let your calves rest on the seat of a chair or a couch or a bed, or legs up the wall. And we'll just notice where we might be holding tension. And so sometimes if we notice tension in the body, so say the shoulders, it helps to actually shrug the shoulders, make fists, make really tight arms, pause, 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 and then relax. If we notice we're holding our butt tight, we could squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the booty, squeeze, 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 and then relax. So feel free to do that with any of the body parts that might be feeling tight. Let them have that tightness. Squeeze it hard and then relax. Can you notice sound outside the room, inside the room? And drawing it ever closer till you might notice sounds inside your own body, digestion, breath, maybe even your own heart beating. And then very gently and slowly, making our way over to one side if that feels good for a breath or two. And then back up to a seat. Your seat includes a bolster or a blanket. And we'll bring our palms to our heart, any shape that feels potent right now. And just kind of notice your low back, notice your upper back. Notice if twisting maybe perhaps a little bit differently has created any awareness for you at all. And when we come to our mat and spend time with our body and our breath and trying something new and exploring our own inner landscape, it really does help us to create just a little bit more peace in our own nervous system, which allows us to be truer advocates of peace in the world. And that spirit of peace, we say Shanti, Shalom, Salam, Aman, Malukia, Nirim, Shiakan, John, Pache, Pax. In the spirit of our collective healing and liberation, we say, Ashe, Amu, Amen, blessed be, Hapu Aloha, in Lakach, Satnam, Namaste, Mitakuyasin, Black Lives Matter.